Love after 60. It's a topic that isn't often whispered about in polite conversation, yet it carries a quiet intensity that can shape the rest of a person's life. Older men, having lived through decades of responsibilities, triumphs, losses, and quiet regrets, are drawn not to superficial beauty or fleeting charm, but to something far more profound, something that speaks to the soul in a way that words can barely capture. Welcome to Wise Life After 60. I am so grateful you're here today, because we're about to open a gentle, unhurried conversation about love, connection, and the emotional truths that linger long after the first meeting has ended, long after the flowers have wilted, long after any impression of who we should be fades into the quiet corners of memory. This is about love that arrives without a fanfare, without pretense, and yet leaves a mark impossible to forget. It's the kind of love that doesn't need to prove itself. It doesn't compete. It doesn't clamor or demand attention. It simply is, and in its simplicity, it resonates more powerfully than anything else could. At this stage in life, what makes a woman unforgettable to an older man isn't measured in charm or status, in perfect hair or an Instagram-ready smile. No, it's the emotional undercurrents, the subtle feelings she stirs that bypass logic and reach straight into the heart. These are rare, precious qualities that make him feel seen, steady, and profoundly safe. The kind of feelings that whisper without words, "She is different." And unlike the fleeting sparks of youth, these feelings linger, imprinting themselves into memory, returning in quiet thoughts long after a shared coffee or walk in the park. These are the truths rarely spoken aloud, the truths every man over 60 feels in his bones but struggles to articulate, the truths that anchor the kind of love that endures. Today, I want to explore 5 of these quiet truths, 5 emotional threads that older men are drawn to, threads that transform connection from companionship to something far more intimate and enduring. Before we begin, take a moment to tap that like button and subscribe to Wise Life After 60, where we explore not the surface of romance, but its deepest currents, the hidden ways hearts connect when time has given us both wisdom and weariness. Let us begin with the first feeling that holds a man's heart, often unnoticed, yet infinitely vital. Feeling number 1, emotional safety. There is something extraordinarily rare, quietly powerful, in a woman who allows a man to simply be. She doesn't demand he prove his worth, his accomplishments, his past, or his strength. She doesn't expect the armor he has worn for decades to stay polished, or the mask he's perfected to remain in place. After 60, men carry the accumulated weight of a lifetime of responsibilities: the provider, the protector, the problem solver. And when someone meets them without judgment, without expectation, offering instead a space where they can breathe, the effect is transformative. Emotional safety is not merely comfort, it is a gift of surrender. It is permission to exhale, to lay down the burden, to exist without performance. It is the rare kind of acceptance that says, "You are enough, just as you are." I recall Harold, my neighbor, a quiet man who lost his wife to cancer in his early 60s. For years, he threw himself into gardening, volunteering, and games at the community center. Yet there remained a tension in his shoulders, a quiet weight that suggested he had long since stopped allowing himself to be soft. Then one spring, he met Lillian at a watercolor class. She was unassuming, gentle, the sort of presence that didn't demand attention but offered space for someone else's soul to unfold. Week after week, Harold arrived early, stayed a little longer, his guarded demeanor softening imperceptibly. One day, he confided in me, "She makes me feel like I don't have to be anything but Harold." In that simple statement lies the essence of emotional safety. It is not the absence of attraction or admiration. It is the profound relief of being fully accepted, of being known without performance. And it is rare, and therefore unforgettable. Emotional safety is not glamorous. It doesn't arrive in grand gestures or candlelit dinners. It resides in the quiet moments. The way a woman listens without interruption. The way her presence doesn't demand, but simply holds. The way she honors a man's history without attempting to rewrite it. This is where love often begins later in life, not with fireworks or dramatic displays, but with peace, with ease, with a sense that he is enough exactly as he is. And once experienced, that feeling leaves a mark that persists far beyond the first encounter, echoing through the quiet moments of life. Feeling number 2, emotional aliveness. While safety provides the foundation, aliveness is the spark that awakens what has long been dormant. Some women possess the rare ability to stir something within a man, to remind him that beneath the calm exterior and years of endurance, a part of him still glows with curiosity, wonder, and quiet joy. There's a quote I carry from Albert Camus. "In the depth of winter, I finally learned that within me there lay an invincible summer." That is precisely the feeling emotional aliveness evokes. It's not about youthful energy, nor about grand adventures. It's about rekindling vitality in the most ordinary moments. At 60 and beyond, many men have grown steady but subdued, their lives characterized by routine and endurance rather than the thrill of spontaneous discovery. And yet, the presence of one woman, simply through her openness, her attentiveness, her gentle curiosity, can awaken a dormant part of the soul. It's in the way she listens, truly listens, when he speaks, in the warmth that fills the room when she smiles, in the subtle vibrancy she carries without trying to impress. It is not loud, it is not showy, but it is profound, because it reminds him that life, even in its later chapters, can be lived with a quiet radiance, that joy and wonder need not fade with age. I've seen it countless times. A widower who has spent years maintaining a safe, steady existence, suddenly leaning forward a little, smiling more freely, speaking with renewed curiosity, simply because someone else's presence has made the world feel alive again. This is not excitement for excitement's sake. It is vitality, a reminder that life still holds warmth, color, and meaning. And for many older men, that awakening is unforgettable. It is the kind of connection that rekindles hope, not because she commands it, but because she exists fully, alive in the quiet, ordinary moments. Feeling number 3, emotional trust. Emotional trust is the subtle, profound undercurrent that transforms attraction into intimacy. It is the realization that a man can lay bare his regrets, his fears, the raw and unpolished truths of his life, and not be met with judgment, dismissal, or discomfort. It is the kind of trust that transcends shared interests, hobbies, or common backgrounds. It is about the willingness to show someone the parts of oneself that feel unlovable, and to witness, without flinching, someone receive them as worthy of care. Consider Charles, a widower in his early 70s. His marriage had been long and quiet, a life built on routines and shared responsibilities, but with little emotional sharing. After losing his wife, he began to feel a loneliness that could exist even in the presence of others. One evening, at a casual backyard dinner, he met Mallory. There was nothing dramatic about the meeting, just conversation over grilled fish, the ease of folding chairs, and evening air. but something remarkable happened. Charles later confided, "I didn't fall for her because of what we talked about. I fell because of what I didn't have to explain." That sentence captures the essence of emotional trust, the profound relief and connection that comes when a man is allowed to reveal his inner life, his vulnerabilities, and not be dismissed. Emotional trust is not built in grand declarations, but in small, repeated gestures. The way she listens without judgment, the way her silence invites rather than distances, the way her presence allows him to unfold without pressure. It is rare, and it is transformative. When a man experiences this, he shows up differently, more honest, more open, more whole. And the memory of that trust lingers, shaping the way he approaches connection for the rest of his life. Feeling number 4. Emotional admiration. In a world that often measures worth by achievements, possessions, or social standing, what older men quietly crave is something far subtler and far deeper: genuine admiration for who they are, for the dignity and consistency with which they have lived their lives, for the values and quiet integrity they carry even when no one is watching. It is not about applause or accolades, nor is it about flattery that inflates the ego temporarily. True admiration, the kind that resonates long after a conversation ends, touches a man in a way that is both humbling and uplifting, reminding him that he is seen, that his life, his choices, and his efforts have mattered in ways that cannot always be measured or expressed. It is a recognition of character, a quiet acknowledgement that he has endured, loved, and remained true to himself in the face of countless challenges, that the small, consistent acts of kindness and responsibility that fill decades have not gone unnoticed. I think of moments as simple as holding eye contact when he speaks, nodding with genuine understanding, listening intently not because she is impressed, but because she believes his thoughts and his experiences deserve attention. In these moments, admiration does not shout, it does not clamor for attention. It hums softly, like the resonance of a bell that continues to ring long after the initial strike, grounding him, reminding him that he still matters, that his life still carries weight, and that the person who sees him in this way offers a rare and enduring gift. It is a feeling that steadies a man, not inflates him, and yet its absence is acutely felt in a world that too often equates relevance with productivity and achievement. The older a man becomes, the more he understands that admiration is not about external validation, but about the quiet recognition of a life lived with integrity, a life that has navigated hardship and joy with equal grace, and the subtle acknowledgement that he is still worthy of being cherished, not for what he has done, but for who he has been throughout it all. Many older men carry with them the invisible weight of history: marriages endured, losses survived, families nurtured, and careers built. These experiences, though not always celebrated outwardly, define the contours of who they are. To witness a woman pause, reflect, and show genuine appreciation for that history is to give a man something far more lasting than compliments or conventional romance. It is the recognition of resilience, the acknowledgement of the quiet battles fought behind closed doors, the subtle understanding that life's greatest victories are not always visible. There is a delicate intimacy in admiration that bridges the gap between respect and affection, creating a sense of being truly understood. And when a woman embodies this kind of emotional presence, it evokes a profound response, a recognition in the man's heart that he is valued beyond superficial measures, that the essence of who he is has not been lost to time but honored, and that the connection being formed is built on a foundation deeper than fleeting attraction or surface-level compatibility. Admiration in this context is not passive. It is active in its attentiveness, deliberate in its acknowledgement, and generous in its authenticity. It is demonstrated in the way she asks questions that invite him to reflect on his life, in the quiet encouragement that he is still relevant, in the warmth that accompanies her regard for the decisions he has made and the lessons he has learned. It is present in the subtle gestures, a smile of genuine recognition, a pause that signifies she has heard and absorbed not just his words, but the weight behind them, a hand extended in solidarity, a presence that communicates without speech that his story is worthy of being told and remembered. In many ways, this admiration becomes a mirror, reflecting back to him a version of himself that he may have forgotten amidst years of responsibility, societal expectations, and self-imposed stoicism. And in that reflection, he is reminded that there is still beauty in his humanity, still value in his experiences, still meaning in his presence. Feeling number 5. Emotional softness. If admiration steadies a man, softness allows him to breathe, to release, to return to a state of tender openness that he may have long denied himself. Emotional softness is a feeling many mistake for fragility, yet it is, in truth, one of the most courageous and profound aspects of love, particularly in the later years of life. It is the quiet permission to lower defenses, to lay down the armor, crafted over decades of provision and protection, to accept care not out of need, but out of mutual generosity and trust. I remember sitting beside a man in his late 60s at a small-town diner as the morning rush began to fade into calm. He was folding napkins into careful triangles, his hands steady but deliberate, waiting for his wife, who was finishing her shift behind the counter. They had been married for over 30 years, yet what he told me next lingered in my mind long after our conversation ended. He said simply, "She makes me feel like I can be soft." The word soft caught me off guard, but it revealed something profound. A man who had spent a lifetime embodying strength, resilience, and self-sufficiency, suddenly feeling safe enough to relinquish control, to experience tenderness, to allow himself the vulnerability that life often demands we suppress. Softness in love is not weakness. It is the gentle, courageous surrender that comes when a man trusts that he is still valued even when he is not performing, even when he is not leading, even when he is not the source of solutions. It is the space to be fully human, to express fear, to admit doubt, to shed tears without apology, to let laughter bubble unrestrained, to allow moments of quiet reflection without expectation. In this openness, a remarkable transformation occurs. Years of accumulated tension, of self-imposed rigidity, begin to soften, revealing the tenderness that has always existed beneath the surface. And when this softness is met with gentle acceptance by a partner, it creates a bond deeper than attraction, a connection rooted in authenticity, empathy, and shared humanity. The older man discovers that love is not a series of tests to pass, nor a competition of strength, but a sanctuary where vulnerability is honored, where tenderness is met with tenderness, and where the heart is invited to unfold freely without fear of judgment. The combination of safety, aliveness, trust, admiration, and softness forms the architecture of lasting love after 60. These 5 emotional pillars are the quiet, enduring currents that hold connections steady and nourish it over time. They are rarely spoken of in dating guides or superficial advice columns, yet they are precisely what older men notice, what they remember, and what they hold close to their hearts. Emotional safety allows a man to exist without performance. Emotional aliveness reminds him that life is still luminous. Emotional trust invites him to reveal his inner world. Emotional admiration affirms that he matters. And emotional softness allows him to breathe and experience intimacy fully. Together, they create a love that is both tender and resilient, subtle and profound, quiet yet unforgettable. For many older men, the realization of these feelings is transformative. It reframes the way they engage in relationships, deepens their capacity for intimacy, and illuminates the truth that love is measured not by grand gestures, fleeting sparks, or appearances, but by how it makes one feel at the most fundamental level, seen, steady, valued, and safe enough to be fully oneself. A woman who embodies these qualities does not need to impress, to win, or to perform. She simply lives with authenticity, presence, and generosity. And in doing so, she touches the heart of a man in ways that endure far longer than any superficial attraction ever could. And when a man experiences this, he remembers it. He may not always articulate it, yet it lingers in thought, in memory, in quiet reflection. He returns to it again and again, recalling the rare moments when he felt completely safe, fully alive, deeply trusted, genuinely admired, and tenderly embraced. It is in these reflections that love becomes more than companionship. It becomes a quiet sanctuary, a place of rest for a lifetime of endurance, a reminder that it is never too late to be seen, to be cherished, and to experience the profound grace of connection. Love after 60 is not about chasing fairy tales or recreating the excitement of youth. It is about the depth, the subtlety, the quiet power of being truly known and accepted. It is about presence, empathy, and the courage to allow oneself to be vulnerable, while simultaneously holding space for another to do the same. It is about discovering that the most enduring sparks are not those that ignite in a moment of spectacle, but those that glow steadily, warmly, and quietly over time. The 5 emotional truths: safety, aliveness, trust, admiration, and softness form the threads that weave a tapestry of connection that is resilient, sustaining, and profoundly moving. When a woman brings these qualities into a man's life, not to impress, not to prove, not to perform, but simply because this is who she is, it leaves an indelible mark. The love that emerges from such presence is not loud, nor is it measured in superficial milestones. It is measured in the quiet smiles shared across the table, the hand that reaches for his without expectation, the eyes that reflect respect and care, the gentle encouragement to be fully human, and the freedom to feel deeply without apology. These moments, seemingly small, carry immense weight because they are rare, authentic, and transformative. And for the man who has spent a lifetime giving strength, providing support, and meeting expectations, this type of love is a gift that cannot be overstated. It is not the reward of effort alone, nor the culmination of charm or luck. It is the arrival of something profoundly human, a connection that restores faith in intimacy, awakens a quiet joy, and allows for the tender acknowledgement of shared humanity. To experience this is to understand viscerally that love is not measured in performance or spectacle, but in depth, resonance, and the freedom to be exactly who you are. In the end, love after 60 is not a chapter of compromise or settling. It is a chapter of truth, of emotional clarity, of being recognized and valued in ways that transcend the superficialities of age, appearance, or social expectation. It is the recognition that the heart, even in its later years, still longs for connection that is steady, authentic, and deeply affirming. And when it finds that connection, it carries it forward, not as a fleeting memory, but as a quiet, sustaining presence that shapes the remaining years with grace, warmth, and the profound satisfaction of finally being seen, truly seen, for exactly who one is. So, as we reflect on these truths, emotional safety, aliveness, trust, admiration, and softness, let us remember that love after 60 is not diminished by age, but refined by experience, deepened by empathy, and illuminated by authenticity. It is in these quiet, enduring moments, these subtle emotional currents, that the richest, most meaningful relationships are formed. And for those who have experienced them, the memory of such connection remains, not as a passing chapter, but as a lasting testament to the depth, resilience, and quiet beauty of the human heart.